I'm going to show you how to use Google Forms in your classroom. The first thing that you're going to want to do is access Google Forms. So you can do that in a couple ways. You can get to it through your Omnibox by typing Forms and then looking for Google Forms, and it should take you there. Or if you're already logged into your Google account, you can go up to your grid and you can access Google Forms through your Drive. If you click New, More, Google Forms is one of your options. So there's a couple different ways to get to it. Once you're in Google Forms, you're going to want to name whatever assignment you're doing, whether it's a quiz or a pretest or however you want to use Forms, you can name it. So I'm going to do mine as a multiplication pretest. Once I type that in and I click, it automatically shows up on my form. And then I can start making my questions. There's different types of questions that you can ask or different answer choices. So you can answer questions where it's a short answer response, 1 or 2 words, a paragraph for explaining, then of course multiple choice. You can do check boxes if there is more than one answer you want them to choose. You can do a drop-down choice menu. You can do a linear scale, a multiple choice grid, and then if you want your answers to be in a date or time form, you can choose those. So I'm actually going to just ask a simple multiplication question. And I'm going to keep this multiple choice, so I have to type in my options. I'm just going to click on option 1, and then I can type in. If I go down to option 2, I can just keep typing as many options as I would like. If I want to get rid of an option, I can hit X. Otherwise, my question is good to go. If I toggle the required button, that means my student has to answer it in order to be completed with the forms. If you choose not to have them answer it, then they can finish the form without having answered all the questions. So I make sure that I always toggle that. If I have a similar question I want to ask, I can just duplicate this by pressing the duplication button. So it's going to create the exact same question, and then I can just change around some numbers, and it's easy for me to make my question. I can change my question completely, so how comfortable are you with multiplication? This isn't something that I would want multiple choice for, so I'm going to get rid of those options, and I'm actually going to do a linear scale. So a linear scale allows them to tell me about how comfortable they are, and you can change what you want your linear scale to go to. I'm just going to go 1 to 5, and I can label it. So 1, not comfortable, and 5 being it's easy. When students answer this question, I can get a gauge on what I need to focus on with multiplication. So, and again, I want to make that required. In any of your questions, you can add a title or description, you can add an image, you can embed a video, or you can add a completely separate section. So if this were my multiplication pretest, I could add a section called multiplication homework. So maybe I want to ask some questions about how do they feel about homework? Do you, let's say, do you have a computer at home? I can do short answer. I could do multiple choice. I'm going to do multiple choice. Yes, no. And I could add other questions. So you can split up your form by creating different sections. If at any time I decide that I don't want something in the form, I can always trash it, and I could delete an entire section if I wanted to. So if this is all I want to ask, then I can go up here to some of my other options. With all of the Google apps, there are add-ons, so that's going to take you to the Google App Store where you can add extra things to the form. You can choose a different color palette, for your form, in your settings, you can figure out who can respond. So anybody in Berkeley County or anyone that I email the link to, I'm going to do anyone in Berkeley County. They have to have a username. So that's going to allow my students that have their Berkeley County name to use this. And I only want them to submit one response. You can also have them edit their response if you give it back to them, or you can allow them to see a summary of responses. And this is something I don't want my other students to see, so I'm not going to check that. I'm also not going to check the progress bar. That's for them to see how much of the form they've completed. But I do want to shuffle the question order, just in case I have my students taking this next to each other. Shuffling the question order will help. And I can click Save. I can click Preview. And this is what it's going to look like for my students. Your students can click Send me a copy of my responses so that they have that, and they could submit. If they didn't answer, they would see something like this, so they'd actually have to go back and answer and then submit. Once all of your forms have been sent out and all of your students have responded, there are a couple of ways that you can look at the feedback. You can go back into your form that you created and you can click Responses, and this is going to give you a summary of your entire class or whoever answered the form. You can do it by individual people, which I was the only one who took this, but if I had more students you could see. You can also, if you hit this green button here, this will create a new spreadsheet in your Google Drive. So I'm going to hit Create, and then it's going to take me to a Google Sheet. So anybody who answers this form, their answers will automatically be put in the Google Sheet, and I can save that for data purposes. So Google Forms is a great way to collect information and then to analyze the data once you have it and help you with your instruction.